Hi everyone, this is Kass from the Goodish Girls, and before our episode starts today, we want to announce that today starts the International Women's Day giveaway. We're participating to help promote these amazing small indie authors in independent bookstores. There's 19 female indie authors, 5 women-owned indie bookstores, and 2 vendors participating. March 15th, one winner will be chosen. Check out our socials to sign up, and we want to say thank you for supporting these women in our bookish community. Now, let's get started so we can meet 2 amazing female indie authors. Hello everyone, welcome to the Goodish Girls podcast, and today we are interviewing 2 indie authors. Today we have Cynthia with us and Meredith, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves and tell you guys a little bit about their books. So Meredith, why don't you start?
So, my name is Meredith. I wrote The Scales of Judgment. It is set in a world where the magic is actually in the minerals and can be wielded. So, in the story, we do follow a prince whose betrothed has been kidnapped and is being held as collateral. So, his only hope is to capture this thief called Skeleton Key, who is the only person rumored to have broken into the palace where they believe she's being held. It is fast paced, it's full of betrayals. And if you don't catch the foreshadowing for the twist at the end, then you might get really mad at yourself. Because that's been some of the feedback that I've gotten on it so far.
I love that. I love that. So what makes it different than some of the other romantic fantasy books out there right now?
Well, I hope that my magic system is unique compared to other books out there, but like obviously I haven't read all of them. So it's very possible that there is one that's similar to it. I think what does also make it different is that it is very focused. I do go into some sensitive and controversial topics, which like we'll get even more into the coming books. So I really tried to make things relatable for my readers. Because yes, it's a fantasy world, but that doesn't mean that like the characters don't go through the same things with their family situations that like we as everyday people do. And so I really wanted people to find that connection within my story. And then something else that's a little bit different is my main characters are a little bit older. So Skeleton Key is 26, and then Baxley, my prince, he is 27. But then on top of that, my Baxley is actually the less worldly character in my story. And Skeleton Key very much leads it and kind of drags him along. So that's a super interesting dynamic because it's not very typical to have that.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. Okay, Cynthia, why don't you tell us a little bit about your book and why it's different from the others in that genre?
Yes, so I am actually 1/3 of Cynthia A. Scarlett. There are 3 writers. Me and my 2 best friends wrote the book The Shadow of Mortalis, and it is a dark romantasy about a girl named Nysaria Thanatos who can speak to the dead. But the one soul that she cannot reach is her father, who was recently deceased. So that's how the story starts out. She is trying to communicate with him. And about the time that the veil is thinnest, she thinks she's going to be able to communicate with him. There's sort of a wrench in her plan. Her other father basically reveals to her that she's going to be in a forced betrothal with a vampire prince from the House of Blood. So lots of things at play here. And basically her life is turned upside down. But she's also an older FMC. We are in our late 20s, and so Nasaria is 28 because I've read so many 16-year-olds that where they're super badass, it just doesn't make any sense. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I love that both of you actually have that. And that's like, we paired you guys up perfectly to come on and chat. But yeah, I love that. We were actually talking about that in one of our latest Brimstone episodes, I was like, I am just so tired of these young girls coming in with nothing, and by book 2 they have all the power in the world and they know everything and all this crazy stuff, and they make terrible decisions because they're 16 years old still. So I love that. I love that. Meredith, I do have a question that's kind of based on your book, and then I have one, Cynthia, for you as well. So I know that you have a little bit of different FMC, we just kind of talked about that. But your book has a lot of world building in it, and I know that you play D&D. So did that help you write the book?
I don't know. It might have, just because, like, yes, you role play as characters in D&D. Like, there's a lot of world building in that. And so, like, especially some of the resources to play D&D, like, I use those to, like, find my names. And, like, I use some of the map building stuff because I'm very visual. And I was like, I need to, like, I literally made a map and had a grid on it so that I could track. I was like, all right, how far can a horse travel in a day? How far can a camel travel in a day? Like, how far can a ship go in a day? And, like, I had to map all of this out for myself because I was like, I want this to be realistic. So when it comes to that, it helped me definitely to build my world and everything. And I think just potentially even, like, building my characters, because in D&D, you're role playing with other people and, like, having those conversations as your characters. So I think that helped kind of with my dialogue as well.
Yeah, I play D&D too, in case you're wondering, Cynthia. But I feel like if I wrote a book, that I would be pulling from that as well. Now, Cynthia, what is it like writing a book with multiple authors? Like, what's the process like?
So all three of us, we have all wanted to write books before, and personally, I don't want to speak for them, but my thing is that I'll start a story and then I'll just never finish it. So I'll just get two in my head. I'll start editing in the middle of the first draft. I'm trying not to, but I think the beauty of having three is we all would just keep going and keep pushing ourselves, because if one of us stopped, the next one would come in and keep writing. So how we did it was we basically got a little wine drunk one night and just completely came up with this story and this world. And we were like, God, we could write this. And we just kind of became obsessed with it. And we wrote down a big outline. And so we knew each story beat of where it was going. And so for the first draft, it was just sort of a matter of whoever would drop the pen last, keyboard last, someone else would come and pick it up from there. And so all of a sudden for the first time ever, I had a completed first draft that was, like, actually novel length. And so that was really exciting. And so I think in that way it was super helpful because of sort of the accountability and sort of just let's just keep going. You can edit later, you can fix things later, and so that was super helpful. And I don't know, we got really lucky. We're all besties. And so I think this isn't always maybe an amazing idea. Maybe it is, I don't know. But with this group of girls, we just were really able to piggyback off each other all the time. And we were also really good about color coding. We had a shared Google Doc, and we wouldn't delete anything of anyone else, what they wrote. But for example, my color was pink, and so I would go in pink and say, oh, I think we should do this, or we should add this, or we should change this. So we were just kind of respectful of each other's work, and we were, I would say, sort of a democracy as well. There's three of us, which is also helpful. So if there's two that are like, Then again, if there is a certain idea that one of us was like, no, I feel really strongly about this, we would kind of go into battle but yeah, it ended up working out really well. And I think we didn't come into any really challenges until the very end and the nitty gritty and the little things, because we were also aligned with the.
Yeah, that's something I really wondered what it would be like, because a lot of times you hear authors talking about, like, this is my baby. I spent so much time on it. Yeah. I put in all the details. I went back and I went back and I went back. So I was like, what is it like for you guys to all be sharing this, right? And is it kind of like doing a group project in school? Or is it a little bit easier than that?
I think it is like a group project in school, but, like, you were paired with, like, the best people who have your same trait. So there's
You got to
still,
choose them. Yeah.
yeah. There's little challenges, but for the most part, you're like, okay, we want to get the A. Or
Right. Yeah. Nice.
That's literally so amazing that you guys can like pick up where the other left off. Because I've read stories before by two authors where they swap off characters, but like I read your prologue, I read your chapter one because, and I will get back to it, but I have like four library books out right now that I was like I want to read some of it, and like I would never have guessed that there's three of you writing this. Like it's seamless.
thank you. A lot of editing for sure. Draft one was maybe not that seamless, but okay. But I think by the end it was like a big smoothie. We're very detail oriented, like down to the word. We would be like, I would use that word, or I would use that word. And so I think by the end it did kind of become a smoothie, hopefully. So thank you. That means a lot.
That is so cool. All right. Now this is going to be for both of you guys. But what is your favorite trope that you put in your book? And is there one that you purposely left out? Cynthia, we'll start with you this time.
I mean, I think this is a big overarching trope, but enemies to lovers. Love enemies
My
to lovers.
favorite trope
great.
out there.
It's a big trope for a reason. And so we have enemies to lovers, but without giving up like too much away. I think we really wanted to sort of flip that on its head a little bit. And so we did include that, but I think there are certain things that maybe won't go as expected as you keep reading.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
pretty vague, but you'll just have to read to find out. But I love enemies to lovers.
Okay. You've intrigued me. Okay. Is there any trope that you purposely left out of your book that you guys were like, absolutely not?
I don't think this is a trope. Well, it can be. I don't know. I think it's getting better, but we wanted Nassaria, our FMC, to be very multi-dimensional. We wanted her to be, like, I think there's a trope of just, like, the really, like, badass FMC, and that's awesome, but she's not sweet, and she doesn't have more, like, romantic moments, or vice versa. And we really wanted someone to feel like a person, even though it is this magical world. And so I think we did include the trope of like the badass FMC, but we really, really worked hard to work backwards to make sure she was really relatable as well.
Okay. And Meredith, I know you said you were kind of similar with that with your FMC as well. So would that probably be the kind of trope as well that you left out? Or do you have another one in mind that you were like, absolutely not?
I do have a different one in mind that I left out. I purposely left out any chosen one tropes.
Okay.
Because my magic system, the way that it's used, it's basically like they use it to help their everyday life. It's not some all-powerful people. It's not. This is going to be a trilogy. At no point is there going to be a chosen one who comes in and like saves the day because they're so strong. It's just not what I wanted in my world. What's funny though is there are some tropes that I'm not a huge fan of, and they did end up in my book just as like small things, nothing major, but if I tell you what they are, then it will give some things away.
That's fair. So what's your favorite trope then that you put into your book, if you can tell us?
So my favorite one, my favorite is not in here. It might be in book 2, but we'll see. But my favorite one that I did put in here is reluctant allies, because it's just so much fun. There's a lot that you can do with it and play around with it, and you'll see Skeleton Key and Baxley clash a lot in the beginning. And then we get to see them figure out like how to exist around each other. And at some point there's this moment of like, wait, I don't find you that annoying anymore. Like, when did that happen?
I love
Nice.
that.
Nice.
I love reluctant allies. That's awesome.
If you put them in a room together long enough, they've got to figure it out, right? It's like kids. You're like, just put them together. They'll get over it. It's fine. So, question for both of you then. Is it harder to write your characters, or is it harder to create the world that they live in? What's your opinion on that? Meredith, we'll start with you this time.
I think it probably depends on the person for this. And like some people might struggle with creating the world, but personally I think that creating like the relatable and well-rounded characters are harder, and it's something that I did go back and specifically focused on during my edits. And like it wasn't even for just my main character. Like I went back and did it for my supporting characters as well and tried to like flesh out their backgrounds and like give them a history and like mention their parents and their grandparents and like try to bring their upbringing into it. But yeah, so I think it depends on the person. The world building I think took me maybe longer at the beginning because that's what I focused on first, was getting my plot down and getting my world down, and then as the story evolved, like maybe I needed to tweak some things here and there. And there was some stuff that I did go back and add to my world as well. One thing I specifically left out in my world was religion. And then I ended up going back and kind of giving a reason why there's not religion in this world. So that was something I added in later on.
Okay, so the world building's a little bit easier
I
for
would
you
say
then.
so.
Okay. Cynthia, how do you feel?
I would actually, well, I think this is a working with two other authors thing. I think in our case, it was harder to do world building because from the get-go, we were just all aligned about our characters. But as we would write and, pick up where the other person left off, all of a sudden there would be like this new place that, one of them had created that I didn't know about yet. And so I think it would be so fun. It would be such a great discovery, or vice versa. I'd be like, okay, so I threw this new thing in that maybe wasn't in our world before. And so for us, I think that was more challenging. I would say definitely first and even second draft, we were discovering the world along with Nysaria, kind of. A lot of times we would be like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense, but this does. Or we actually mentioned religion, sort of draft 2 also came up with this sort of religious thing. And we were like, wait, what are their beliefs from this kingdom? And also, our worlds are 4 kingdoms. And so it was also just sort of making each of those have their own signature and their own cultures and learning that kind of together and discovering that together. So in our case, I think that was a little harder, but I think, of course, like the most important thing is your characters and wanting them to be lovable, and because the world can be so cool, but if the character's like, I don't really care about them. It was, I think, definitely towards the end, editing, after we got our beta readers back specifically, we were like, we really want to make sure our characters are just as awesome as possible. But I think because of our setup, maybe world building. That's a hard one.
If you could change one thing about the indie author world, what would it be? Cynthia, we'll start with you.
I think just sort of the stigma about it. Like, I think just like, oh, these aren't professional authors, or these aren't, and I think a lot of people, they think, oh, like it won't be that crispy, it won't, but we put so much into editing, we put so much into going back and making sure everything is as perfect as possible. And I mean, for us, the reason we wanted to go indie was just the freedom of it, the freedom for when we could release it. We, already there's 3 of us, so we want as much agency as possible over it. And it didn't have, I mean, who knows, but it wasn't like we were like, oh no, we don't want to, we don't want it to be published in this way. It was just, this just made the most sense for us. So I think a lot of people just think it's like a lower quality thing, but that's not necessarily true. So I think people could read more indie authors. And so many of my favorite books started off indie. And so that's what I would say.
Yeah, I feel like we see that a lot, like, as we've been doing this series. A lot of you guys choose to be indie, one, because you get the freedom, right? Or there's been people that have come on and they're like, well, I, joined with a publisher before, and I felt like I was writing a book that I just didn't recognize anymore. So then I decided to do a different one, indie. So I think we're starting to see that, right? Because as us coming in, we're not authors. Dallas and I, Madison and I are not authors, okay? But it's such a different world that we know nothing about. And so being published versus indie, the more you learn, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if publishing just makes you, that much better, like you said, or anything like that. Because I feel like every author that you meet puts so much love and work into their book, whether they're published or not. So, yeah, I love that. And then, same thing for you, Meredith. If there's anything that you could change about the indie author world, what would it be?
I think it would just honestly be like the lack of resources for publishing and distributing. Because honestly, I didn't even look into going like the traditional route of it because this is not my full-time goal. It is my hobby that I enjoy. And I was like, I want to write a book and get it published. And like, if I make enough money to keep writing, that's amazing. And like if it flops, then like it flops and I might call it quit after one series. So like we'll just kind of see where it goes. And so that was like the big factor in I didn't want to go traditional because you have deadlines, you have timelines, you have to meet all these things and like it's work to even try to find somebody who wants you. But just the lack of resources for indie authors, it's hard because you need to go and do the research yourself, and everybody out there has their own opinion on what you should be doing and like which route you should go. So it's very stressful. The customer service for some of the companies we need to use are not very helpful and can take weeks to get back to you. Did I have like 2 crash outs trying to like go through the publishing process on some of these sites? Yes, I did. My husband did not know what to do for me and was just sitting there like she's freaking out. She's like she is off the deep end and like what he did not know what to do. It all got worked out in the end, but it's very stressful.
It's fair. I feel like we hear that a lot too. Like a lot of times the resources you find are just within the other indie authors that you end up talking to that have similar ideas. It's not really any of the companies or things that you need help from or need resources from. So I love that you brought that up as well. Now, there is something that I wanted to ask that I did not ask about in the beginning. So we're going to talk about book covers real quick and the beautiful art on both of your guys' books. Okay, first, let's start with Cynthia. Okay, I'm going to show this book because it is so pretty. I love the, like, I don't know, what do you call this? Like, shiny gilded writing. It always makes it look, like, so fancy. So I feel like that catches your eye pretty quickly. But how did you guys come up with a cover, especially when there's 3 of you? Was it pretty easy to create this, or...
Gosh, I wonder if I have somewhere, like, deep in my phone the original, like, doodles that we made. Surprisingly, we were always on the same page of how we wanted it to look, as far as like we wanted it to be her silhouette. We wanted to sort of see a little bit of blood, see a little bit of the colors of Mortalis, of the kingdom that she lives in, are purple and black, and so we wanted a lot of purple and black. So we kind of like doodled that image, but then it was just finding an artist that could execute that in a way that wasn't like super disjointed. And we found Books and Moods, and they're amazing. And I think we went through 3 different versions. Our FMC is black, and my 2 co-authors have beautiful natural curly hair, and it was very important to get her curls correct. And that was sort of the only thing that we really wanted it to be perfect. And so I think that was the main thing. We had to go through 2 more versions, be like, no, it's a little tighter, her curl pattern and like stuff like that. But yeah, they did a wonderful job, and we got really lucky because, like you said, it's hard to find resources, especially that are somewhat affordable, and like as they should. Like there's such good artists, like charge as much as you want, like you deserve it. But it is hard, it is hard. So yeah, we got really lucky.
And Meredith, your book as well. Also, I got the hardcover version, which is really nice. I love the like blue as well. I'm a blue girly, so if anything is blue on the cover, then I'm like, I'll take that book. Thank you very much. But
What's hard is I'm also a blue person. I'm like, what do I do for the next two? Like, do I still kind of like, do I need to change and like pick, like green or whatever? Or can I just stay
blue.
blue? I haven't decided.
What was it like for you creating this? Like, what
So
vision did you want to come out?
I actually found somebody on Etsy that does book covers specifically, and I believe, use like probably the Canva program and stuff, and so it is very affordable. So I was like, this is my character's tattoo. I want it based off of that. And so this is Skeleton's Key tattoo. It is on her back. So it's a little bit different just because of like where the mandala is and stuff. Like in the actual tattoo, it's like stabbing through the mandala. But I love how it turned out. The whole process, I got 3 different covers and then was able to make like some adjustments. So I picked one and then made a couple adjustments on it. And so I love it. 2 books are going to be kind of like the same theme. So I'm going to stick with tattoo designs, and the next one will be Baxley, and the third one I haven't officially decided on who it's going to be. I'm wishy-washy between 2 of my other characters, so we'll see which one I actually end up picking for my third one.
It'll be a surprise.
Yes.
But you gotta leave them wanting more, you know? So I guess we kind of already went into that then, right? You are continuing this series, but what is next for you as an indie author?
So currently I am working on book 2. I'm probably at like the halfway mark on it, but I do expect this one to be longer, and I actually think it's going to be my favorite one. There's a lot of scenes in here that I've been dying to get to write, and so like every time I reach one, I get so excited. I'm like a little kid in a candy store. What's funny is like one of the scenes that I've been like anticipating for months, I finally got to write it probably a few weeks ago, and then I went, I don't know if this is right, and I don't know if it actually works well. And so that's when I reached out to one of my friends who has been with me from the beginning. Her name is Mandy. She got the first dedication, and like she's the whole reason that I even started writing in the first place. So she's my one that I'm like, you're in this with me now, sucker. Whether or not, here's some of my chapters, read through them and tell me like what you think. And I ended up splitting it into 2 chapters and then filling in, I think it was like 3 or 4 other chapters in between that scene. And now I'm like, okay, I feel better about it. I'm one that I won't go back and reread the entire thing until it's done. So I'll officially decide once I finish it, and then get to go back and be like, is this good, or do I want to change it more? But this year I am trying to focus a little more on reaching out to other authors, like just being a little bit more brave to be like, hi, my name's Meredith, do you want to be my friend? Because it's scary. I'm trying to go to some different book events, and then hopefully I'll be able to get like my own booth at least one event later in the year, but we'll see how everything goes and plays out.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Now, Cynthia, same thing for you. What is next for you, or you 3, I guess, as an indie author?
There is at least book 2, and we are working on book 2 right now.
Okay.
And it's fun, and it's exciting. And honestly, kind of just jumping off of what you said, we're trying to be more brave and more bold this year, and like getting to know more authors, and we would love to go to some events. I didn't realize you were based in Orlando. That's so fun. We would love to go. That would be awesome. And yeah, like have a booth. That would be really cool. And also just that's such a good way to get to know like-minded people. And so that's a goal as well. TBD, none officially yet, but we're hoping. Yeah, we're working on book 2. It's fun. We're very aligned again as far as where the story's gonna go, and it might. I'm gonna stop talking. It might feel a little crazy, but yeah. So
Awesome. Yeah, we are both in Orlando. Actually, all three of us are in Orlando. But Dallas went to Romanticycon this past year. That was her first time there, and she met a lot of different authors, which was really cool. So I feel like that's a great place. I'm hoping to go this year because I just want to get more into the community as well. But MegaCon, even last year, had a room specifically for like fantasy, romantasy, like authors. So they had like a wall of authors, and then they had vendors throughout as well. And I believe this year it's even growing a little bit more because I think it started as like a little meetup, and then last year they gave us a room. And so I'm like, hopefully this year there'll be even more people. But it was pretty cool. So I love that, like, even MegaCon's like, all right, you guys can come in, even though that's like not what you're there for usually at MegaCon.
I've been to MegaCon,
Yeah.
not for just as a nerd, for other
Yes.
things. And so that's so cool to hear. Good to know.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on today and sharing your experiences as indie authors, especially with everything being so different, right? Like we talked about, from publishing and finding your own resources. The Shadows of Mortalis and The Scales of Judgment are both out right now, so you can get your own copy. And we do want to say thanks for listening. Again, I'm Kass, and this is the Goodish Girls podcast, and we'll see you next time.